broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to AFTERBUZZ TV's Parenthood. We're here doing Season 6, Episode 4, Potpourri of Freaks. I feel like this Braverman family, there's a bunch of eclectic people, but I wouldn't call them freaks.
No.
But, yes. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Marisa Serafini, and joining me I have...
Hello, everyone. I'm Kellie Knezovich.
Hi, I'm April Whisenhant.
Okay. What did you think of this episode?
It was lighter than last week's.
Yes, lighter.
I wasn't so like, gritting my teeth the entire time about to cry, but it was, still so good. It was more like I needed a lighter episode, but still like a lot of things really happening in it.
Right.
I did get teary-eyed a little bit, but I feel like that's normal. I mean, every episode I always get teary-eyed. So.
Every episode. And I feel like every episode of this particular season so far, there's at least one or maybe two moments where it gets really serious and then really real and emotional. And then, yes, we had to grab the tissue box next to us. But I love this episode. It was really good. Yeah. Let's just start off with Ruby's story. Ruby and Hank and Sarah, all of them. So Hank and Sarah, they oversleep. Yeah. Already a great start to their day. And then Hank still not being too honest about the whole situation with Sandy, and Sandy telling Hank from last episode they don't want Sarah around when Ruby's around. What did we think of Sandy in this particular episode? I thought she was fairly understandable with everything that's going on.
I completely agree. I feel like Hank probably gave her the wrong impression of who Sarah was, and not, he wasn't so, Sarah's my girlfriend. She's really heavily involved in my life. It wasn't like that. I think he kind of played it up that she was just dating. They were dating, and Sandy was very understanding. Yeah.
I was definitely surprised by how she just kind of was like, okay, once he finally, said, we're serious, she's a huge part of my life. I mean, I guess what can she do at that point? She can't say, absolutely not, you're not going to see your daughter if she's there, because, I mean, ultimately it is his life. I'm surprised for sure that she gave in that easily after she was so gung-ho about it last week.
Yeah.
About Ruby not being around Sarah.
I think it's just because she didn't know how involved Sarah was, though.
Right. Very true. And, I mean, I don't know why Hank wasn't very, upfront with her about how serious they were, because I feel like to everyone else he is, and she's very upfront about it as well. Maybe it was just he didn't want to kind of throw it on him as soon as they moved there or something. I don't know. I haven't thought about that until this episode tonight.
Yeah,
but
I think that goes with Hank's character as a person. We know he's not the most talkative person. He's very reserved in that way, and he has a hard time confronting issues or when it comes to serious things like this. And we even saw it the previous seasons with him, that he has a hard time facing people. And then I felt like this was a big episode for his character growth, when actually confronting Sandy and literally laying it down and be like, no, we are serious. If we're gonna have a relationship, Ruby with Ruby, Sarah's going to be there, and you have to accept that.
Right.
I really did like that conversation that they had in the coffee shop or breakfast
that restaurant,
wherever they
diner.
were. But I was thinking, if he wasn't going to talk to Sandy about it, and he wasn't able to discuss everything truthfully and honestly, I was trying to figure out a way that he could get his point across to Sandy, because he's even said, whenever I talk to Sandy, she always talks more than me, or, I can never really talk to her fully about everything. And I was thinking maybe, he could write things down, or so that he remembers these bullet points that he needs to discuss with Sandy, or send her an email explaining how much Sarah is involved in his life.
I'm glad that Hank didn't send an email for that, because even sending an email or a text or anything, there's such a disconnect there. And it's not as meaningful if you say it like in person from face to
Right.
face.
Right.
I just wasn't sure if he was able to say it face to face. And I'm glad that he did, but had he not been able to, I wonder what the next alternative would have been.
Yeah.
I'm surprised just that he, like I said anything period, because I thought it was they were kind of gonna take it in a way that he just wasn't gonna let Sarah be around, and that was gonna be a source of tension between the two of them. And then, you know, with Mr. Steer coming back whenever he comes back. But obviously, Hank proved me wrong, and I'm proud of him for sure.
Yeah, that won't be for a while till Mr. Steer stirs things up a bit.
Yeah.
But I really did enjoy Sandy in this episode.
Yeah.
Because she is, yes, we see from the past episodes, she's just being the mother who's trying to do what's right for her daughter. And she's not doing it in a mean, aggressive way. She's doing it in the very parental, this is what's best for my daughter. And like the fact that she is understanding with Hank, and they are grown adults, and she's handing it, and she's not coming out of bitterness or jealousy. She's coming from the literally understanding of the situation. It's like, hey, I thought this would be great if we keep Sarah out of the picture, but maybe it's better if she is in.
Yeah, well, I thought, you know, where I thought Sandy would be the problem, now I'm like, I think it's going to be little Ruby that's going to be the problem between them more so than Sandy is. Because even with the little comment that she made, which I know teenagers are teenagers, whatever, but is that Forever 21? I'm like, I love Forever 21.
I love Forever 21.
Yeah. Who knows?
That was a very funny comment. I feel like a lot of young people our age would understand that. And even, what did you think of Sarah's response? No, it's something 40.
I thought it was good. At least she wasn't like, what? You know, it's natural to get offended, because obviously Ruby meant it in a bad way.
Yeah.
But I thought she handled it exactly how like the girlfriend of a dad should handle it. She made a joke right back and just played it off. So
she's really good with handling Ruby. Last episode when Ruby was when they were in the drugstore and she was looking at the nail polish and what color should I get? She's like, oh, red is for old people. You know, I think Sarah's really good at handling teenagers.
Well, if you think about it, Sarah has had a teenage daughter herself. I mean, if you go back to the premiere episode of Parenthood, even Amber is telling Sarah when she's going out on her date, that purse doesn't suit well with your outfit.
Right.
So it's like she knows how to handle daughters in that way, or girls of that age. And if they have a snarky comment, it's just like, whatever, they're teenagers.
Right.
So what do we think is going to happen now that everyone's kind of on the same understanding playing field? Is there going to be any more drama? Something else going to happen to stir things up other than Mark coming back?
Right. I just don't think it's going to be smooth sailing. For some reason, something about this situation, I just feel like the pot is boiling at this point. And I honestly don't really have like an idea of what I think it could be, but I just feel like it's not going to be smooth. I don't know though.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some complications and some rough patches with Ruby, and Hank probably doesn't know how to be the greatest father, perhaps, and the fact that Mr. Steer is coming back, I think Sarah might start leaning towards Mr. Steer and keeping Hank at an arm's distance.
Okay, interesting. We'll keep that to predictions.
Yeah.
All right, but something talking about pot boilings. Oh my goodness, Oliver Rome still being problematic musician.
He's such a nut.
All right. I mean, I don't know a lot of musicians. I'm not in that field.
Right.
But is it crazy to have such a musician like this to go breaching contract and not going on a tour, not getting paid, not doing his job, and then the fact that Crosby has to go chase him down? What did we think of that whole Zen place, palace, wherever they were for meditation?
Just as nutty as he is. I mean,
so strange.
And it's so Oliver Rome though that he would be at a place like that and just like, oh hey Crosby, like nothing's
Super
happened.
chill.
Like he didn't just leave his tour that he was supposed to be on. It's so, you know, I just feel so bad for Crosby and for Adam because they've worked so hard, and he's just, Oliver Rome is such a temperamental musician. And I guess it goes back to like the artists of like the 70s and the 80s. I feel like that's when you used to hear of that kind of stuff happening, but I'm like, you can't do that today. This is like your life, and he just seems to not really care.
And the thing is, like, Oliver Rome, like you said, doesn't care, but he doesn't really understand the whole the whole situation, like how serious this is, breaching contract, and you could get sued for not doing your job and not selling the records and going on tour. Like, you're paid to do this and you're not making that money.
Right.
And so he's coming from a very selfish place. And the fact that he already signed with Submoto.
I feel like that came out of nowhere.
Just all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, that goes against, like, apparently they didn't sign a individual contract with Oliver.
Right.
They just signed with the band in general. And there's no saying that he can't sign with someone else if he feels
that,
like that.
though. But so is he still going to have to be a part of Ashes of Rome because he signed that contract, but he's going to have his own solo thing at the same time?
I don't know, because it sounds like Crosby's thinking that he's done with the Luncheonette.
Right.
He's moving on to Submoto, and he's lost the what Ashes of
Rome.
He's lost that whole thing.
Or it's like he wants to go another creative route.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's still breaching his own personal contract.
Right. Yeah.
Being part of Ashes of Rome. Because he's technically part of the group, and the group is signed. But he personally, I don't know. This is where it gets confusing.
Yeah.
But either way, it's not looking good for their business.
No.
Because that's what helped make Luncheonette. That's one of their first successful recording albums that was fully recorded there and actually on a tour. So things are getting a bit cray. But I love when Crosby actually goes there and he's just causing a ruckus.
Oh, yeah.
And literally they can't speak. They're on a 3-day silence pact, whatever they call it. That was so funny and so like Crosby to really cause any commotion in a place that he shouldn't be.
He's not afraid to say whatever he thinks in that kind of situation. And he was, trying to be respectful at first. And they said, you have to be a member. He's like, okay, sign me up. I like how he's just like, I'm going to do whatever I can to see this guy, get my point across. And then when it doesn't work because he's being a Looney Tune, then he lets his real feelings come out. And I loved how when he's like
hitting all the pots
in, and he moved the pots around because they were whatever, I don't even know what it was, but
it's like, Crosby. I got you, you can shush all day later. That was funny.
It's so true that whenever I feel like I remember being in elementary school and everyone's like shh shh, and it's like you're making more noise. Making it louder.
You're making it louder. That reminded me of the scene where Crosby and they were having the family dinner at that restaurant, and they were having problems with Jasmine breastfeeding, and Crosby made a big situation bigger than it should have been. So that's very much Crosby's character.
He's very good at that.
Yeah.
Very good at making scenes.
But it's for the good intentions.
Yeah.
He doesn't handle the situations properly, and I think that's where he still needs to grow as an adult. But, and even so, going back to Jasmine, we do see Jasmine in Little Aida.
Oh, she's beautiful.
So beautiful.
So pretty.
She's stunning.
What a cute
and
baby.
Talk about Jabbar.
Hey, Jabbar.
He's so tall now.
All these kids, they're growing up right in front of our faces.
I know.
So precious.
Oh, goodness. But we start off with actually Jabbar jumping on Crosby, and we saw from last week he had that motorcycle crash, and he's still bruised. That looks serious.
Yeah, it does. And I knew Jasmine was going to freak out and not want him to ride his motorcycle, but I mean, it's Crosby. It's his motorcycle. That's what he does. And little accident's definitely not going to stop him. Well, a little accident to be continued. But
what was up with that? He came back in the minivan, and then he went off on his motorcycle. What was that about?
Yeah, and I think that's also it, because Jasmine telling Crosby, no, you have to drive the minivan, I think that was just another situation. It's like, no, you got to grow up. You got to be serious. And I feel like minivans is one of the most humbling vehicles you can drive.
Yeah.
And one of that like really grounds him as a human being. That's like, this is a serious situation, you got to take it. And then him doing that, not getting the result that he wanted with Oliver. I think it was his way of regressing back to, I tried being an adult and I tried to go about the situation, but I'm still going to be me on my motorcycle.
Okay, makes sense.
Which I feel like he needs to do. I mean, I get there of course are certain situations where, just like you said, he does need to grow up and maybe be a little more mature, but it's Crosby's thing. I feel like he's got to keep it.
Yeah.
Editor.
I think that's just his character. So, all right. Anything else on that other than Oliver still being Oliver, causing problems?
Yeah, I'm just nervous. I'm nervous about what it's going to do for them. And of course, has there ever been an episode where Adam and Crosby aren't fighting about something?
they're brothers.
Yeah, and it's always like a friendly fight and a funny fight, but I feel like they're always like, it's either they're having like a really loving moment or they're arguing about something.
Yeah, or this was more so for business.
Right.
So this was more than just a sibling petty fight. This was a legit business that they're running. So I can understand that.
Yeah.
But speaking of Adam and Christina in their charter school, we have this new girl, Dylan.
Yeah.
What do we think of Dylan? She has ADHD, and she says she has behavioral problems as well. But the thing is, she's aware of it. But having the awareness that you have these things still shouldn't let you get away with it.
No, not at all. And I think even Max, you know, he doesn't even try to get away with stuff. I mean, his like bluntness is one thing, but you know, you have seen him apologize whenever he feels like he actually really needs to. It might be a little tough for him to get there, but it's also, I mean, this chick, I don't know, she's a little troublemaker. It's little Dylan.
Dylan Jones.
Dylan Jones.
Kelly, what do you think of her?
I don't know how I feel about her. I think that conversation between Christina and in the office, when she was saying, you know, I'm calling him Asperger's because that's what he has. We shouldn't, it's not a derogatory term. I don't know how I feel about that. I'm not sure.
I mean, yes, we know Max does it, but that still shouldn't allow her.
It shouldn't allow her to.
I mean, there's professional tact in that area.
Right.
But, I mean, and it's really hard. This is where it crosses the line because they are special needs type of people. So, and I'm glad that Christina was the one to address that in a very, very professional way. She knows what that's like. And to have decorum among kids, and then also she just doesn't want Max to be bullied again.
Dylan seems very strong in her opinion, and she thinks that she can call Max Asperger's and call him a freak and stuff like that. And I just don't know if Christina or anyone really is going to get through to her to explain, no, we don't call people that.
Honestly, I go a little back and forth on this, and y'all may think I'm kind of crazy for it, but there's the part of me that's like, obviously that's so rude, absolutely 100% she should not be doing it. But then there's the other part of me that thinks it's kind of semi-agrees with her. Like, people, you know, it's making it more serious by you being like, no, this is awful, like, don't do it. And so I kind of semi-understand, but just because I kind of understand doesn't make it even slightly right what she's doing, especially like the freak comment. That's just not okay.
Potpourri of freaks. They're hence the title of this episode. I mean, the whole place is just full of freaks, which I don't think that's the best term, obviously, but that's how Dylan sees them. And it just, I mean, and that's what makes her different from Max, because we know Max has Asperger's. He doesn't have the awareness that he does that. I mean, Christine and Adam keeps telling him that you do so and so and so, but you have to keep working at it. But the thing with Dylan, she's aware, and that's where I have the problem with her, because of her awareness that she, as a person, she just doing it somewhat out of meanness and someone probably trying to get attention as well.
Right.
Do we think she's a good fit with Max? Because Max seems like he actually likes her.
Kind of. I mean, obviously the part of her, like, I completely agree. I do think she's doing some of the things she's doing on purpose, and because she's like, oh, this guy's just gonna sit here and kind of stare at me and look at me. But I think Max kind of needs a little bit of like abruptness at the same time, because everyone walks on eggshells around him all the time, or they handle him just so delicately, like, come on, buddy.
Yeah.
And so I feel like a person who's a little kind of in your face could be good for him, but at the same time, I just smell heartbreak a brewing. So I don't know.
So much heartbreak there.
I feel like she's very strong and very independent, and I think that's and confident as well. And I think that that's what Max likes about her, because she is like unlike anyone that we've seen in any of the episodes, really. And he's never experienced anyone like her. And just like how you said about everyone walks on eggshells around him, it's true. Everyone does. And I think that he likes how different she is. But I don't know if it's going to last.
Yeah, and this is a new feeling for Max, because he's even talking to Adam as a parent, as a dad. I love this conversation. It's like, what do you do when you like a girl? And now we can really see Max is growing up, and he's starting to have feelings for the opposite sex.
I mean, I said it to y'all whenever we were watching. Adam has always wanted that from Max. I remember, I don't know if it was last season or the one before, where he was, he like broke down to Christina because he's like, I don't know if Max is ever going to feel that way. I don't know if he's ever actually going to feel something. And now he's feeling it. And you could just tell he was just like proud and happy as a dad. So that was, I loved that moment between the two of them.
Yeah, and there's hope for Max. Not all is lost.
And I think Max is pretty unhappy. I think he's been unhappy these last 4 episodes because he hates the school and he doesn't want to go. And then he sees this girl, and I think now he might actually enjoy going to school and want to go to school.
Yeah, and it's also like Adam's so proud that he built a place for people like Max and Max himself so that they can be real people and have these real situations and fall in love with people. And like he's going through all the motions what a teenager should, like a normal person.
That's good. It's
I love
good
it.
to see. He wants to cut his hair. Remember
Yeah,
when he like
oh my
didn't want
goodness.
to shower?
That really freaked me out.
He didn't want to shower, and then like he finally is like, Dad, I need to borrow your deodorant. It's like, oh wait, okay, so he's growing up a little more.
Yeah, that reminds me of the episode where Max has the BO and they're telling him to take showers. Another growing pain.
He's like, I take showers on Sundays and Wednesdays. I'm like, that's a lot of gap right there.
You gotta take showers every day. Puberty is
It's a fun thing.
It's rough. But I think Dylan is will be an interesting love interest for Max.
With how many episodes we have left, I'm anxious to see if they're actually going to take it somewhere.
Yeah.
They have to, though. They just started out, with this episode. He likes her, so they have to take it somewhere. But I wonder how far it's going to go.
I don't know. Yeah. She's a cute girl. Max is a cute
she
boy.
reminds me physically. She looks like a young Jared Leto.
She
Oh my God.
But female.
It's the eyes.
It's
like
the
those
eyes.
piercing Oh, dang.
I didn't even think
She
about that.
does. I didn't either.
Wow, good connection.
Yeah.
Totally. I was
Good.
like, wow, this is Jared Leto as a young girl. Interesting. Okay. With that said, moving on. Zeke. We see Zeke post-op. He finally gets released from the hospital, goes back home. He's having a hard time adjusting to his, I don't even know what you call it, his recovery.
Yeah.
And he's being somewhat lazy. Having his grandchildren getting him tea. But I love Millie in this situation. It's like, no, you got to go do it yourself.
When Jabbar was being timed, and Jabbar was so into it, getting him his iced tea, and then Millie stops and says, no, if you want the iced tea, you come get it.
What do we
good.
Yeah, what do we think of Zeke in this situation? Did you expect him to be like this after his surgery?
Absolutely.
I did too.
I think that Zeke is very stubborn. And I think Zeke is the type of person who really likes being in control of things. And when he is not able to be in control of things, and he has other people tell him, hey, you have to go out for a walk, and you have to, you're going to sleep here tonight, and, stay on the couch. Oh, no, you need to walk around the couch. I think he doesn't like that. He doesn't like being told what to do. And so I think he gets really defensive when things like that happen, even if it's his wife, Millie, or any of his kids.
Right.
Julia or anything.
I think he, I feel like Millie expected him to be stronger or kind of like get up a little faster than he did because she only sees him as being strong. But that's part of the reason why I think he's afraid of it, is because he knows what it's going to be like when he does stand up, and he is weak. And so I think he has just been afraid to show just how weak he is. And so, but therefore it's only going to make him weaker. But it's just so sad seeing him just sit on the couch, but I'm also
watching John Wayne movies.
I'm like, it's kind of like his dream, right? The kitchen's here, the bed's here. Whenever she was in Italy, that's what he did the whole time.
He loved that. He loved being by himself and being lazy. But this is a whole different situation why he's being lazy.
He really can't do anything because he's in pain and he's weak when he gets up, and so he's just kind of stuck there.
Yeah. And the little bell that Millie gave her.
I knew that was going to be bad.
No, and he throws it across the room. But what do we think of Millie and her concern for Zeke? I think she's pretty spot on, especially being married for so long, and you see your husband in a certain way, and then to have a drastic change, it would be scary.
Yeah. I feel like I always hear that a lot of relationships don't last after something like that, not because of the person like passing away or something, but because it just totally changes them.
Changes
and to have, obviously she loves him. He's her husband. She's gonna be there for him forever. But to have like her really think that this could be a possibility that he is completely different from now on, that's scary for her. And of course she's gonna be really concerned. And I love that she went to Adam to it, because of course he's that voice of reason and always knows what to say. But yeah, her concern is spot on, I think.
What do we think of when Julia went to talk to Zeke, and they had a nice father-daughter bonding moment, and Zeke being really serious. It's like, you're one of the best moms ever, you know, they're catching up what's going on in your life, and I thought this was so sweet.
It definitely was. But I this has almost nothing to do with it, but I couldn't stop thinking about how earlier in the episode, whenever Sydney apologized to the girl and then walked away, and Julia was like, Sydney, no, and then just kind of like gave up. I'm like, you did the same thing with your dad. He's like, no, just come sit. I can't. She's like, all right. And just like gave up too easily. But I definitely, of course, I loved the moment between them. I think they have a very special relationship. Just the way that they interact with each other and speak to one another. And to hear him say that she's one of the best moms, I know was huge for her.
Sweet.
I think he knows something. I think there's something up, because he got super emotional when he asked her to put her head right here, and she did, and she was, she was like, oh, this is sweet, but he was really taking it to heart.
Something's bothering him. And
I thought it hurt him. I thought
really?
But what y'all are saying makes more sense.
Yeah, I think it's more like, oh my gosh, I need to cherish this moment. I'm not gonna be
more
here for a while or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I have predictions about that. But I love how Christina was the one who really snapped Zeke out of this, out of all the people, especially Christina. And I love how they picked her, because she did go through cancer. She know what it's like to deal with this big battle and have people dote on her afterwards, and it's really, you have to fight for yourself. You can't let other people fight for you. You have to do it yourself. You have to want to do it for yourself.
Yeah, and she was strong with him, and kind of like how you were saying about Max earlier. Everyone walks on eggshells around him, and everyone does that with Zeke too. You know, are you okay? Do you need anything? Or but Christina's very, nope, let's get up. Let's do this. You got to fight for it.
I'm not going to feel sorry for you. You're not getting any pity from me.
And he listened to her.
Yep.
That was great.
I was kind of surprised that he did, only because at first I thought like he's just going to be like, okay, I know what you're trying to do, yada, yada, yada. But she, obviously what she was saying, it really spoke to him.
I think it's because she went through something very similar with cancer, and she was able to recover and get back up. And so she has a good point.
Yeah. I love how Christina actually really just clear cut. I was like, I know you're scared, but you still got to face it and do it. And that walk and them, and even Millie all happy, is like, yes, finally. I mean, if my husband's not going to listen to me, listens to someone else. At least Christina was that voice.
That was a big walk too. I was thinking they were just going to go around the couch, and then when they start walking out the door, I'm like, they're going for it. All right.
Good.
That's so sweet.
Yeah. So because they had a fairly long walk, do we think Zeke is going to make a full recovery?
Oh God, I can't even. I don't know. No, but maybe.
I think he's heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
He's on the up and up.
Yeah. I think
as of right now.
Christina's a good voice of reason, and I think it's looking good.
Yeah, I think so too. I hope so. Still goes back to my prediction. Yeah. But you did mention Julia and Sydney's situation. Okay, so Sydney, we're trying to like her. She's trying to apologize to the girl that she dismissed at lunch and so-called bullied. And what do we think of Joel and Julia in this situation as parents? Do you think they said enough? Because when Sydney tried to apologize, you can obviously tell that was not a sincere apology. It was because
she was forced to do it.
And I thought it was interesting how Joel and Julia were the ones constantly apologizing. I apologize. It's not for Sydney. It was them apologizing.
Yeah. I think, obviously, once Sydney walked away, that's like the only thing that they could do. Yeah. But like I said, I feel like she should have been like, no, and turn her around.
Get your daughter who's walking away. You can easily get her back.
Right.
And she's like, no, apologize now.
At that point, it's like, it doesn't matter if you're, because I'm sure she would have pitched a fit. It doesn't matter that your kid is pitching a fit at that point. Like, it's almost worse to just do nothing, because it's not like they're, I mean, what, are they going to take her back again to apologize? The parents are clearly upset. They definitely gave up on trying to make her apologize too easily, and it's because they think she's so upset, or she obviously is so upset about everything, but it's like, it doesn't matter. She still did something wrong, and she still has to make it right somehow.
I don't think they know how to handle the situation.
Right.
I mean, it's their first time dealing with this bullying situation, their daughter being the bully. They don't know how to handle it, and they can only really just say, I'm sorry.
And it doesn't help that one mother of the little girl was very dismissive. In a way. I mean, I get that, when a little girl's not making a genuine apology, yeah, you would be upset too, being the parent of the girl who's getting bullied, but she was not accepting whatsoever.
No.
And she wasn't helping the situation.
No.
And like, obviously you want your child to be okay, but at the same time, we've all been there before. We all remember what it was like to be a young kid, and it's like, come on, lady. I mean, obviously Sydney does need to apologize and does need to actually mean it, and I get where she was coming from, but at the same time, I feel like she took it a little too far.
You felt the woman of the daughter who was bullied took it too far?
Whenever she was just like, well, do something, da-da-da, it's like, there's only so much they can do.
What can you do?
I
mean, I've never been in that situation, and I'm not a mom, and so I don't know how to handle that thing, but I don't know what you can do other than apologize.
Well, it's like, I get being upset, but it was to the point where it's like, no, I don't accept your apology. It's like, at least acknowledge that they're making the effort to be sincere in all this. But and I love the conversation with Joel and Julia. They're like, this is affecting our kids now. Our relationship, our separation is really affecting Sydney. And what do we tell them? What do we think of this conversation that they had with Sydney at the end?
Julia is scaring me whenever it was just the two of them talking. She's like, we have to tell them we're not getting back together. And it's like, I'm sorry, when did we make that decision?
Right.
Yeah. But at the end, whenever she was talking to Sydney, I think she said the perfect thing. We don't know. I know it's really, really tough. And I'm the same way. Not knowing stuff is worse than
so scary.
Actually knowing. It's just like, all right, even if the outcome is bad, at least you can move forward somehow. And so, I mean, Sydney is, just like Julia said, a lot like Julia, and she wants to know and needs to know, but they can't rush a decision. And I'm just so happy she didn't say that they weren't getting back together, because that's like nail in the coffin right there.
Yeah, that's closing that chapter. But what do you think Joel is ready to say that?
Absolutely not.
No. I mean, that long shot on his face when Julia said we're not getting back together, you can obviously tell he was not okay with it.
I think he's also kind of in denial about it too, because didn't he kind of laugh it off a little bit, kind of like, what, or something like that. I just kind of felt
like, are you ready to say that?
Yeah.
Right. But why isn't he saying something though? Like, why? I feel like why hasn't he said, no, I'm not ready to, or like, yes, I want to go in a different direction.
If Julia's ready to cut it off, I mean, that's her thing.
But he has to say something though. He has to make sure that she knows that he doesn't want to do that.
And I think had he said no, we would have got the conversation that we're going to see in next week's episode.
Yeah.
We see with predictions, because if Joel's going to say something, Julie's going to say, hey, I'm dating Chris Jeffries.
But Joel has always been very passive and I don't think he's really stood up for himself a lot around Julia. Julia is the stronger
the alpha
one, in the relationship. So
that's where their issues started though, because Joel just got tired of it, and
exactly.
I don't know. It's a big mess at this point.
Yeah,
it is, and that kind of goes into my news as well. But anything else this episode? So much again.
Yeah.
This particular conversation with Joel, Julia, and Sydney, and how Sydney just being that daughter, not really understanding everything, the uncertainty of everything. It was really heartbreaking to watch.
I was wondering why they decided to speak to Sydney alone and not wait for
because Sydney's the one that's acting up. and Victor isn't. I mean, we know it also affects Victor too, but he's not the one having problems in school. He's not the one bullying other kids. He's not the one that's acting back to his parents. It's Sydney. So I feel like this is perfect that they address Sydney by herself and really isolate her from the other.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into some news.
Yeah.
Shall we?
AFTERBUZZ TV News.
I believe you have some news. Kellie?
I do. Okay, so Monica Potter, Christina, she is actually, I don't know when it's coming out, but she's gonna start her own. She has she's starting a new project, and it's executively produced by Ellen DeGeneres.
Love her.
Yeah, I know. I'm
So
really,
you know it's gonna
really
be
excited
great.
about this,
And it's going to be funny.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Details about the premise are not being revealed, but apparently the series is loosely based on Monica Potter's life.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Should be awesome.
With some humor, I'm sure.
Of course. That's exciting.
Yeah.
And okay, going off of the Joel Julia story, Zap 2 had a nice interview with Erika Christensen, and she says about their Joel Julia relationship that at the end of last season, it seemed like there was some hope for them to get back together. But she says, I'll just say that they still have a long way to go. Last season for them is still strongly felt this season, which I think is great. So, and then she also just talked about her character being that lawyer and a certain stereotype in a way. And she says she's having fun portraying a fictional character, and she's at the realization of how complex women are and how complex people are. And she's like, take 50,000 American female lawyers and line them all up, and you're not going to say, I can tell, they're all Julia. So it's just having that creative freedom and building the type of character Julia is, being that lawyer, being that strong female. And then also Erika Christensen has a new film coming out on the Hallmark channel called My Boyfriend's Dog, which airs Saturday, October 18th. Definitely check that out. I already set my DVR.
Let's see it.
Hallmark, you gotta love it. It's gonna be fun, it's gonna be cheesy, and I'm gonna love it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then we also have some fun photos.
Let's see.
Well, actually, while JT's queuing them up. Oh, here we go. Monica Potter, on her Twitter, she posted snakes on a Monica. So much fun. And it's just Monica with, like, trying to handle a little itty-bitty snake.
She's so funny.
She is living it up. Look how happy she is.
I admit, I probably would make the same face.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, me and snakes don't do too well.
No, me either.
And then our next photo. We have, also Monica, she says, look which cutie pie I ran into today at Sam Palladio. And I don't know if you guys know who Sam Palladio is. He plays Gunnar Scott on ABC's Nashville. I love that show. I also covered that show here at AfterBuzz. Shameless plug. So just a nice fun photo of them meeting up again. And then we have one more. And then this is Mae Whitman on her Instagram, just with Sarah Ramos, having fun drinking, I don't know, Bud Light and drinks, beverages. Just some fun photos. It shows that, like, everyone's just having fun.
Yeah.
I love following them on social media. They're just that sneak into their lives.
Speaking of Twitter, I was looking at Sam Jager's Twitter before we started the show, and he tweeted someone. He was like, I really wish I could tell you that Joel and Julia are going to get it together tonight. I really wish I could.
Oh, really?
But I'm just like,
such
what are
a
you telling us?
tease.
I know.
Such a tease. And then one more fun news. Young Hollywood interviewed Max Burkholder and Monica Potter on the set of Parenthood. And Max, he is so grown up. It's hard to tell because he's doing such a great job portraying someone with Asperger's that he's a completely different person in real life. And then they were on the behind the scenes set at Universal just talking about being in fake New York and filming. The charter school is actually in a fake movie theater on the set.
Oh, wow.
In Universal, which I thought was cool. And then also the interviewer who was talking to him, they just did a nice little fun tour on the crafts service truck and just enjoying everything that's there. It looked fun. And then also they were interviewing Monica, and she was just talking about how Peter Krause, who directed tonight's episode, and how funny it is to work with him. And then when he's yelling cut, he's like, why are you yelling cut? And then also forgetting the fact that he's also directing. And then she says it's bittersweet for the last being the final season, but she says she's excited to move on to other projects, hence her pilot or her show that she's currently working on. And some of her favorite memories of Parenthood, she said, was the Halloween episode, because I guess while shooting that one, Craig T. Nelson, who obviously plays Zeke, made her laugh so hard that she almost peed her pants. So just fun interview on Young Hollywood. Definitely check that out. And then just a quick shout outs on YouTube. Thank you everyone on iTunes and YouTube for rating and commenting and subscribing. We love it. This is the final season. These are the last times we're going to be able to talk about Parenthood, so just keep talking to us. And we'll give our Twitter handles at the end, but shout out to Kate Leahy, also on YouTube. You guys are great. And also Aaron Ramadanov. I'm sorry if I butchered that.
You're good.
I'm going really slow here. They said, awesome stuff, lady. Really enjoying your after show. After Parenthood, this show is the first thing I think about to hear someone else take on Parenthood.
I love that.
Nice.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you everyone for commenting. If you comment, we will shout you out.
Heck yeah.
And anything else?
I have one more. I wasn't sure where you were going with the Erika interview, but I also have another one from TV Fanatic. She talks about Julia and Chris versus Julia and Joel. She doesn't know what's going to happen, but she says it's kind of nice to see Julia coming into her own and finding some happiness, but at the same time, she's very conflicted herself, which we absolutely see in all these episodes. She says that she doesn't think that Chris is the one who's going to try to confuse the issue. She thinks that Joel is going to be the one to try to confuse the issue. And I think with his lack of speaking up, I absolutely think that's accurate.
Okay. I agree.
And then she says that the reason she's interested in Chris is they have history together, and when they last knew each other and were dating, they had a very simple life. And so that kind of reminds her of, it's so simple, it's not complicated. And I think that Joel makes it complicated.
Yeah. It's a complicated relationship.
Yeah, it is.
All right, let's get into predictions.
Yes. And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right. We see a lot of things in the previews.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. A lot of different relationships going on, complications all around. April, let's start with you. What do you think is going to happen?
I think, as far as Joel and Julia go, I just can't see them not ending up together. I think
That's sad.
I can't see them not ending up together. I feel like Mr. Jeffries, whatever is, Chris Jeffries, he's gonna be a thing. But Joel and Julia, it's Jolia. They're gonna be together.
Julia.
Yeah,
I
Julia.
feel like it just can't happen. So that's my prediction, is that they will end up back together. Still, I definitely agree with you as far as Zeke goes. It's just, I feel like you can tell that he just feels like something is going wrong. But I also am still in it's almost just too obvious part two. So I go back and forth on my death prediction, I guess.
Okay.
I hate that every time we always try to figure out who's gonna die. That's so sad.
Well, that's like what they're
No, I know.
I mean,
I know.
we're all still speculating
it's
who
gonna
is it
happen,
gonna
right?
be.
We know that there will be a death. Is that correct?
There's rumors there's
Okay.
a death.
Right.
They're touching upon the storyline of death.
Okay, and I think that
They haven't confirmed that there's a
the
death.
actors,
No deaths are confirmed.
the actors think that there's gonna be a death
Yeah.
somewhere.
Oh yeah. Even Jason Katims have been talking about the
Okay.
storyline of death. So death is definitely going to play a part in this season
Okay, I hate
in
that.
some shape or form.
Yeah. I'm really anxious to see what's going on with Amber. Because
Yeah.
it looks
We
like,
did not see her tonight.
no, we
No,
didn't,
I
but we
hate
did
not
see in the
seeing her.
preview that she's interested in someone else.
Why
Do
didn't
you
we see
think
his
that's too
face?
soon?
Yeah.
I felt that at the end of last week's episode that she and Ryan were a thing and they were moving forward. I totally thought they were.
So not a thing.
No?
I think that's way too fast of Amber to be literally going from your baby daddy to another guy. Might be for a fling, a comforting situation.
But see,
way too soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she's pregnant. Come on.
And I think that's
she's not
what's going to get in the way.
Straight right now.
Well, it should get in the way.
Yeah.
You should not be dating someone while you're pregnant with another man's baby.
But feelings are feelings. You kind of can't help who you like unless it is just a fling, like you said.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. I still think, even from tonight, we see that Zeke, he's still kind of having some complications recovering. It looks like he's on the up and up, but even, this just reminds me of Grey's Anatomy. There's an episode where you have a surge and everything looks good, but then automatically you crash. I think that's going to happen with Zeke. Like, it looks like he's getting better, but then something tragic is going to happen. He's going to have a complication, and I still think he's going to die.
You might be right.
I feel like he had a scene with Julia. Very heartfelt scene. Last episode, he had a heartfelt scene with Amber. He even had a heartfelt scene with Christina. So I think every single episode, he's going to have a very heartfelt, meaningful scene with someone to say, like, I love this and this quality about you. Literally saying his last goodbyes to every single person in the show. And I think that's what's going to happen. Every episode, we're going to see his last goodbye to someone. And then at the end, he has said everything he can about every single Braverman, and he's going to pass away.
That's a really good point.
It is.
I think you got it.
That's what I think.
I think you do too. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate.
Think about it.
Yeah.
All right. So much more to talk about. We'll obviously be here next week. Where can everyone keep following you, April?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at April Whisenhant.
And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Kellie Knez.
And you can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Serafini TV. You can follow all of us here at AfterBuzz on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all those fun social media platforms at AfterBuzz TV. Thank you all for listening, rating, commenting, downloading. We will see you next week for Parenthood.
I was about to say season 5, episode 5.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.